Wow, that's a super goofy looking mushroom.
Welcome, folks. Thank you for joining me today. Much appreciated. Before we go on, take a look at this. Use our Amazon link down below. When you do, it helps us out and it doesn't cost you a penny more. And after using the link, save it to your bookmarks so you can have easy access to it in the future. Thank you. Yeah, I figured I'd get that out of the way first. Do use my link. That would be wonderful. You'll help us out. You'll put food on the table. Oh, and another thing, be subscribed. October 14th, we're going to live stream the annular eclipse. Now, if this is after October 14th, not out of luck. I'll put a link so you can go see it after the event. But if you want to catch it live, be subscribed, ring the bell, do all that. Weather permitting, we're going to watch this together. So this video is more, shall we say, exploratory. I kind of want to ask you a bunch of questions. I've recently re-engaged with an old hobby, but in kind of a new way. A number of years ago, I was into the radio hobby. That is, shortwave listening, transmitting around the world on ham radio, that kind of thing. And I kind of dropped it. For me, that kind of thing was very short-lived. It was interesting and intriguing. It kind of tickled the fancy, if you will, of like, hey, I could talk to people around the world. And then once you've done it, I think the furthest I spoke to someone was from Australia. I was living in California at the time. That was kind of awesome. It was like, wow, I got all the way to all the way to Australia from California. That's cool. Now what? It's kind of like Facebook and those other social media things. Once you kind of go there and you see what it's all about and you figure it out, it's like, yeah, I got other things I would rather be doing than sitting in a little shed somewhere after spending lots of money on antennas and radios and all the components that go with it, just to talk to somebody in Japan. Now that's okay, and I don't criticize people that enjoy doing that. I don't find that to be, from a longevity standpoint, something that I want to be doing all the time. It just isn't. Other people love it, and I know some people that is their pastime. It's their thing that they love to do. I'm just not into it as much until recently. I got me one of these. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about this little radio. It's a Baofeng. This is the UV5, and I got my GMRS. I paid the tax. I paid the fee. It's not even really a license. It's just pay some money, and then you'll now be accountable because you've got a call sign and you're supposed to do certain things with that call sign. And if you do something nefarious on here, we'll come and get you. It's one of those things. But there's a real reason why I got into this, that particular format of radio. The more I'm living out here in Texas now, and some of the tornado things. We have a lot more things going on here more frequently than we did in California. California, a lot of earthquakes. We had tornadoes once in a while. Wasn't all that common. And we knew that it was coming. Kind of like out here in Texas. If there's a tornado brewing. With an earthquake, you don't really know when it's going to hit. And quite frankly, cell phones, television, conventional commercial radio, like your music stations and all that, your news stations. If some disaster hits, most likely your cell phone is going down. That's probably going to be the first thing. Because back in the day, landline, it went down. When it got jammed, it got jammed. I remember getting through the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, and I lived, 15 miles away from ground zero. No joke. Shortly after that, during the Christmas time, we went up to a Christmas tree farm to cut down a tree, and it was about 15 miles away, up in the mountains near the Mount Loma Prieta, where the epicenter was. And lo and behold, there was a big crack in the ground, about like that, running through that whole mountain ridge where that Christmas tree farm was. So it was real, man. It was real. And we had power out for a day. We were very fortunate. We had other friends that were out for numbers of days. We had friends that the whole house lifted up, shifted, and came back down again. Ours didn't quite get that serious. We had a few things, a few broken things in the house, but we were fortunate. Evidently, if you're closer to the epicenter, at least in our case, in that particular case, closer to the epicenter, you were a little better off because the wave hadn't had a chance to build momentum because people further away had bigger damage. But anyway, I digress with all of that. Trying to make a phone call, you pick up the phone. We had a landline. And if those of you remember Motorola StarTACs, that's back when cell phones were on StarTAC flip phones. Kind of like the Star Trek looking thing.
Spock. Spock. Spock here.
All of that was down. We had no way to communicate. The TV went out. Let me throw in a little clip of something that you might remember.
Fails to get Dave Parker at second base, so the Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an
So yeah, if you're old enough to remember that, yeah, everything went out. What I did have at the time was a two-way radio. And I was able to key up that radio, and before I even keyed up, turn it on and listened, and there was chatter going on. So I found a frequency that I can go to, and I said something, nothing. Then I went back to where the chatter was on those frequencies and was able to just listen. This is the exploratory part. How many of you know what this is? It's a Uniden Bearcat BC 200 XLT. Back in the day, 1987, 1988, when this thing came out, it was the cat's meow. And you've probably seen...
Right here, cloudy, 78.
So I guess my message to you is, if you're not into radio, that's okay, but you might want to get away to listen to radio and not your commercial radio.
When he sits behind home plate, they bring him vodka and cranberry.
It's like catered stuff.
But what chatter is going on around other areas around you. You may learn quite a bit. Now, I did get this Baofeng because I can transmit on it, and since I paid my $35, I think it is. And if any of you are interested in learning a little bit more about GMRS, I can go into some more detail, part of the other exploratory thing. Leave a comment down below. We can talk, or maybe I'll do another video on it all. But
channel mode.
Yeah, channel mode. GMRS, and I can transmit on it, and I can reach the shooting gal. The good thing about GMRS, there are two repeaters close by, and I'm listening right now, and there's nobody on it. But if I kerchunk it, let me see if I can. Nah, I can't. Somebody's keyed up. That's the repeater about 40 miles away, maybe 45 miles away. That's not a good sign. Shouldn't be keyed up like that. Huh. Anyway.
Thick green.
It's just open. Maybe I ought to let folks know, because that's not good. By the way, don't buy one of these and key up if you don't have a license. That's the rule. Whether you follow the rules or not, that's up to you. I'm just telling you what the rule is, okay? It's not ham. If you're a ham radio person, hats off to you. I understand. I've been there. I've taken the test. I just never renewed. I let it go. Yeah. There it is again. It's keyed up. Radio check out to the repeater that's out in Troy. Yeah, what's interesting about GMRS, you could be repeater mode or you can be simplex mode, which is just radio to radio. And I have a feeling that was somebody close by because they share the same frequencies, different wattages. I know, that's a lot. But if you're interested, let me know. This is a radio on a chip. It's not a super heterodyne. So the circuitry isn't as discrete and as precise as maybe it could be. But it brings the price down. This thing was less than $20. I bought 2 of them, one for me, one for the shooting gal, with the hopes that if things all go sideways, we could radio to radio talk to each other, because I'm pretty sure the cell phone ain't going to do squat. What's also interesting is quite a few years ago, and you've probably seen me doing some repairs with flex glue, is this Motorola Talkabout 250. I bought this. It's Family Radio Service, FRS, which this will also talk on. But look at the size difference. And this is a higher wattage radio than this. When you're able to talk at those higher wattages. Got to look at the rules, check the FCC so you don't get in trouble. But look at the size different. Quite a bit different. And then a scanner. Now, I can talk to, like I said, here, let's turn this on. It's on channel 6. This one's on channel 6. Maybe what I'll do is I'll step outside and you can listen for yourself.
Okay, I'm in the other room, in the house, and talking on the Talkabout to the Baofeng.
Now, it's just so it's really clear, I was using this radio, which is FRS, Family Radio Service, and no license required. No problem. You can get yourself one of these, get 2 of these, get 3 of them, get 3 or 4 of them, and you could have a lot of fun with your family. It's just not going to get you very far. It just isn't. If you're in the house and you want to talk, into the backyard, it would work great. But to get all the way from where I'm at downtown, where Shooting Gal is, not going to work. That's why something like GMRS, or the General, what does GMRS stand for? General Mobile Radio System Service. Is a little better. You could operate as much as 50 watts, depending on the channel. And if you have a repeater available, and there are 7 channels available with repeaters, if you have a repeater in the area, I got to thinking too, maybe I'd become my own repeater. That might be kind of interesting. You can get pretty far. I mean, if I could kerchunk a radio when I'm outside, not inside of a Faraday cage like I am right now, but if I'm outside, I can kerchunk that thing out in Troy, which is 45 miles away, about. I can kerchunk it from here, and that means I'm reaching it. So that means if he can reach me, anything within a 45 to 50 mile radius of that repeater, I could hit. That's where Shooting Gal is. She's not that far away, but she's actually closer to it than I am. So I know I could get her. I might throw this on the tabletop, and we'll do a deep dive into it. So let me know in the comment section down below if you want me to do that. I will say, if you're not into two-way talking, listening is going to be very, very important in the days to come and in the future. It's always been, I've had this ever since I've had it, and I didn't get rid of it because I know how valuable listening can be. Gathering intel is always very important. Now, when I bought this, I think it cost me $250, which back in 1987, 1988 was a lot of money, especially when you didn't have the $200, but I knew how important it was going to be to have something like this. And I've kept it for a very long time. The batteries on this thing, they gave out a long time ago. And the way I was working around the batteries being bad was it has an adapter. So I would just plug the adapter in and I would listen in the house. But if I wanted to take this with me remotely, I figured batteries. Lo and behold, I found a battery set that would fit inside this case, and it fits in there perfectly. I soldered it in, it works wonderfully. But my point to all that is, it was about $250 new. I think, and I'll put a link below, but I think if you went looking for one of these now, well, you can't buy the BC200, what the heck? BC200 XLT. You can't get one of these now. You'd have to get the more updated ones. They're a lot of money. I can't remember how much. $400? Yeah. So maybe $20 will suffice. Now this thing, the frequency ranges that this thing could pick up is very, very broad. Very broad. I mean, everything from 10 meter all the way up to the 800 band. Actually 900 band, 956 is the highest this thing will go, megahertz. So I can scan a lot with this. The newer ones, not too sure. This one, 2 meters, 70 centimeter, which is basically the 400 range. They skip the 300 and the 200 and goes down to the 140 range. For those of you that don't know what that means, leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to explain it to you. Or maybe somebody down below could just, why don't you just type in the comment what all that means? That's all I got. It's a tool, and I think it's going to be important, and I encourage you to use the link down below. Go search out either this thing. Now, you can't transmit without a license. Not supposed to. But I'm telling you, in a really bad situation where, you know, the world is on fire, I don't think it's going to be too big of a problem to key up and call for help. But if it's not that critical and you just need to listen, you can still listen with no license. Keep that in mind. That's all I got. Leave me some comments. I'll see you on the next video. Weather's cooled down quite a bit.